So, if you've watched any of my old travelogue videos, you know that I like to go thrifting. I like hitting up thrift stores and antique malls looking for my special dumb brand of retro stuff. But I realize that I only tend to film in those places when I'm on the road, ignoring all my hunts when I'm here at home. Time to change that. There are a lot of cool places to go digging through here locally, but honestly most of the time none of it is really worth filming. There's not much out there anymore. It's all been scooped up by scalpers and eBayers, plus Goodwill sells most of their good items on their website now for a premium. I mean, I get it, you should get as much as you can for your charity, I'm not mad about that, but it sure takes the fun out of searching. Now, unfortunately, I have a problem. I've been doing research for another video that's going to be finished one of these days, and the subject of that video is the Philips CDI. It's a device I've had a bit of an obsession with as of late, mostly because I can't get one. But then I had a thought and instantly cursed myself because I thought, I bet we're at a point now where people might get rid of a CDI, not knowing what it is, and because many models look like any other component from the time, it may just be sitting in stacks with other CD players from the 90s. Now, I know full well I'm never going to find one of these in the wild, especially not at a discount price. But the bad thought is in my brain now, and my brain wants to keep telling me that if I don't get out there and look for it, someone else is going to get it, and then I'm going to be mad, somehow, that it wasn't me. My brain is very evil, I can't seem to do anything about this. So my lovely wife and I headed out for a thrifting adventure. First stop was a place fairly close to me that used to be an old roadside motel, and what the owners have done is that all the little cottages are now shops, and in the middle of the complex is a big barn filled with thrift items. Although, the stuff in this barn is not exactly well maintained. It's the reason this is not a regular stop when I go out looking for things, but it had been at least 5 years since we had been here, so it was time to take another look. It felt like I was onto something when we first walked in because I immediately saw some electronics over here. I had my hopes up for a second, but the table deteriorated into garbage tools and other assorted junk. Then I saw this pachinko machine, which I probably would have grabbed, but I already have 2 pachinko machines in my garage, and I'm not opening up a parlor. I always feel bad when someone's pet artwork ends up in one of these places, and there was a lot of pet artwork here. And also Terry Bradshaw's album, which normally I probably would have bought because that's my brand of dumb, but there's an issue with the media stuff in this barn today. For example, on this table there was a sign saying the entire lot of audio cassettes was $5. Well, that's a deal, let me get that. There's bound to be something good in the massive assortment of tapes on the table, but then you look at them and they have clearly been sitting here for over a decade. They are covered in filth. There's not a chance I'm even touching one of these, and there's no way the tape inside is playable. Same goes for this table of VHS stuff, which was advertised 20 for one measly buck. Now in the past, I have found some tapes here, and I have an alternate YouTube channel where I post obscure VHS things. So I was hopeful that at least I would find something like that again. But like the cassettes, these were covered in filth, and as you can see on the tape that's already exposed, there is clearly mold growing in there, so yeah. I might as well just set $1 on fire. It's a shame too because there were a couple I would have picked up otherwise. Looking over at the DVDs, which were slightly cleaner, I found one possible purchase that looked like my kind of thing, but honestly, I didn't want to risk buying any media in here. And you can see right next to it the one video game in the entire place, World Championship Poker for the original Xbox, which might be the most common console game I see while thrifting. Not necessarily a wasted trip, but I know I probably don't need to come back here for another few years. Moving on to a nicer indoor place, for some reason my eye was immediately drawn to the Conway Twitty cookbook, which when I flipped through it, it seemed to mostly be pictures of his grandkids. Another booth had this cool Goldfinger poster which I wanted to examine closer, but I kept feeling like I was being stared at from up above. Speaking of staring, this very old sales display for peepholes for your door made me laugh because look at this guy. I can't believe what my parents used to have to deal with before peepholes were invented. Random winos knocking on suburban doors. Another booth had a collection of Disney tapes on beta, which is not something you see every day. And then I wanted to get this French's Mustard neon sign to hang over our bed, but my wife said no for some reason. We checked out 3 different Goodwills, and naturally they had nothing worth mentioning since all that stuff is on their website now. Also hit up one of the local flea markets, which is mostly all stuff that fell off the back of trucks now. Nothing of note there either, except a couple of game dealers who had mostly trash but priced higher than eBay prices, so no thanks. We checked out a new place nearby for lunch called Throwbacks, a little mini arcade that had about a dozen pinball machines or so. I sure wish we had one large arcade here in town somewhere, but until then, these little places will have to do. It's a decent lineup, I'll come back. One last stop at another local thrift, and I might have found the furniture of my dreams here. This huge Lazy Boy set would have been great if I lived somewhere spacious like the studio set of the Friends apartment. One of the consoles even had a phone jack in it. Not a phone charger, a jack. For a landline. Wild. But this was the one place where I did have some luck finding something cool to take home. First up was this 2-pack of Mike Hammer TV movies from the 1980s. I didn't know I was even looking for these, but recently while going through a bunch of trailers and commercials for various live streams that I do, I saw this commercial for Murder Me, Murder You.
Stacy Keach is Mike Hammer. Tanya Roberts is his private eyeful.
It's the most important case in my life.
31 flavors of deadly double-dip delights.
I'm looking for my daughter.
But she has a date with death.
It's my daughter's life we're talking about.
The sizzling world premiere of Mickey Spillane's Mike Hammer in Murder Me, Murder You, Saturday. This is CBS.
And holy smokes, that cast! The cast alone makes it worth a look, and I guess it hung around in my brain long enough to make things click when I was scanning through the hundreds of DVDs in this place. So that'll be fun. And then on the shelf next to it I saw this encyclopedia of 1970s television shows, and that's my jam too. Also, I collect 70s and 80s board games, and found one that I did not have, so home to the collection it comes. And finally was this clock radio, which looks like a combination of the poster art for the movie Death Machines, the 2XL 8-track player, and the Crime Buster robot from the movie Heartbeeps.
What? What?
Oh man, I thought I uninstalled this thing.
What?
The clock radio was described as working, and so without even investigating it, I grabbed it because it looked like some kind of weird behind the Iron Curtain gothic industrial device. Getting home and researching it, however, made me realize that this is actually fairly new, as this Remington NC1000 came out sometime in the mid to late 2000s. It's one of those clock radios that wakes you up gently with the sound increasing ever so slowly while the light brightens like the sun coming up over the horizon. So while it's not old or vintage or retro, it still looks stupid cool, and I will probably replace the regular light inside this clock with an LED and let this thing go nuts in my game room while blasting the local classic rock radio station. And that was it for this trip. No CDI, obviously, but I felt like it could have been in one of these places if I didn't go and check them out. I will keep looking because I know it's out there in the city somewhere, and if someone else gets it, I'm going to be very angry. Somehow. Anyway, I hope you liked my little shopping adventure. I'll probably post more of these on occasion, but there has to be cool stuff to talk about, otherwise it's just posting nonsense. I'll get that first CDI video done sometime soon because I certainly have some thoughts, but until then, let's play some games.